This video contains multiple stories. Let's hear story number 1. My girlfriend suggested an open relationship, so I showed her the door. My girlfriend, who is 36, suggested we open our relationship. I just showed her the door. Was it excessive? I believe that when someone in a monogamous relationship asks to open it up, it's usually because they found something else appealing and are looking to explore that instead of putting effort into the current relationship. Essentially, it is surprising their partner without warning. I have been with Fran, 36, for the last 2.5 years, almost 2 as a couple. I thought everything was going well and was ready to ask her to move in at the start of April, but recently she seemed distant. I chose to hold off for a bit and observe. I was cheated on in the past, so I'm a bit cautious about some signs that come up unexpectedly. This past Friday, she asked me to open the relationship. She gave me a long speech, and when she finished, I asked if she had someone in mind. It's not like we just decided today and are going out with other people tomorrow. I got her to reveal something I already knew. She has someone in mind, which suggests to me that she either already went through with it or has everything planned out. So I got up and walked around the apartment while she was trying to convince me that this could be good for both of us and our relationship. By the time she finished talking, I handed her one of my sport bags with all her stuff in it and told her to leave the spare key on the table on her way out. I said we were done and that she knew why. I went to the couch and turned on the TV, trying to act indifferent. She was quiet for a bit, almost in tears. Before she could say anything, I told her I didn't want to talk and that she should leave. When she left, I felt terrible, unworthy. I cried a bit, and I'm still mourning now. My phone is blowing up with calls and texts from friends on both sides about my strong reaction to her simple request. I have no idea what she said to them. I'm sitting here thinking if I went too far. I feel the urge to go back to her, but I know my feelings are still there. The trust is gone, and I can't keep watching her every move. That's not healthy. Maybe with time, things will change, but I really don't know. Yes, I realize my reaction is a reflection of myself, not of her actions or intentions. So did I go too far? Sorry for my English. Please keep that in mind if something I wrote is unclear. Update 1. Thanks for all the replies and upvotes. I didn't expect this post to get so much attention. I just wanted to organize my thoughts and vent a bit, hoping some people would let me know if I went too far. But I didn't expect the number of replies I received. Thanks a lot to everyone for that. Some people suggested that I might have gone too far, that she might not have known my stance on the issue. I responded to a few, but there were too many comments to reply to everyone. About a year ago, we had some friends going through a similar situation. For about a month, it was the main topic in our friend group. I kept saying that for me, it's a definite no. If someone in a relationship feels the need to be with other people, they should just leave. Regarding the friends trying to fix things, they weren't fully aware of the situation. After I posted here yesterday and clarified my thoughts, I met with a group of them and shared my perspective. They all had different opinions. Some wanted to move on, while others were ready to take drastic action. A few girls suggested I could handle things differently, and there were questions about whether I should consider giving her another chance. The main issue for me isn't about feelings. I know I love her, but the trust is gone. I don't want to constantly wonder what she's doing. After I left, my friends spoke to others who weren't present, and things settled down. I have no idea what she's doing. I received some texts from her, but I haven't looked at them yet and don't plan to anytime soon. This isn't much, but it's all I have for now. When I first came to this part of Reddit, I didn't understand why people shared their relationship issues, but now I see why. Update 2. Hi everyone, here's how it all wrapped up. I wasn't really planning to post another update, but since some people have been asking, here it is. I finally talked to her to sort things out after hearing from various friends and some Reddit users. Last Friday, we met at our usual spot for coffee. From afar, she looked amazing, so amazing that I felt the urge to just say, screw it, and take her back to my place. It took a lot of self-control to hold back. As I approached her, I saw the sadness in her eyes, still red from crying. We sat down, and before she could speak, I asked her to share the whole story. I told her not to leave anything out because I needed all the details. After that, I would have a few questions, and I needed her to be completely honest. The story is straightforward. About 2 months before she proposed the open relationship, she met an attractive guy during a girls' night out dancing. In the first month, he was the new attraction that all the single friends in the group were exploring, leading to girls sharing their experiences. Eventually, this guy, who was charming all the girls around him, noticed Fran and started flirting with her. He took her to the dance floor, and they had a good time. So, there was this time when she decided to ignore our agreement with dacing night. We had agreed that she would stay away from any guy since, let's be honest, most guys are just looking for something more than dancing. She felt the excitement and decided to go for it. She enjoyed the attention from the guy and had a great time dancing. During this period, I started to realize that Fran was acting distant. A few weeks later, her friends started sharing more personal stories about this guy. This got her thinking, and she found herself imagining being with him. He was also trying to make a move on her, but from what she told me, she didn't go for it because she was with me. Drinks and drunk friends aren't great advisors. When the idea of an open relationship came up, they spent over 2 weeks trying to convince me. They argued that since I had threesomes and dabbled in swinging in the past, I should be fine with the idea of an open relationship. But threesomes and swinging are activities you engage in as a couple, driven by pure excitement. For me, this happened a long time ago, back in my early 20s. All of this led to the day she requested to open the relationship. She said she and her friends never expected me to end the relationship right then. They thought the worst I would do was get angry and say no. It's not a big deal, just ask. I interrupted her and said she should know better. We had been together for over 2 years, and I always shared my thoughts with her. She said yes. I told her that I didn't break up with her because of the question. I ended things because there was already another guy, and that created a big trust issue for me. If this concern had come up naturally, we might have worked it out. In the worst case, we could have found an alternative. But given how things were, it was a red flag for me. We talked about it for a bit, and then I started to ask her questions. I wanted to know if she had been intimate with him at any time, and she said she hadn't. She didn't have any feelings for him, and she wasn't going to see him again either. It may not be significant, but it provided a bit of relief. I told her I can't go back. I need to end this for my own well-being. I mentioned that we have many mutual friends, and I don't want to lose any of them over this. It wouldn't be fair to make them choose sides, so we should act like adults and keep things friendly. If my friends choose a side, it's because they want to, not because I asked them to. She expressed her regret, saying that if she could, she would change everything, but she understood it wasn't possible. She looked like she was about to cry, and I felt the same way. It was the right time to ask for the check and head out. I walked her to her car and opened the door for her, just something I usually do. She started to cry, so I hugged her. We stood there for about 10 minutes. Once she calmed down, she got into her car and drove away. I was in shock, so I went home, grabbed my camping gear, and drove to the mountain. I spent the whole weekend there to clear my mind. This morning, I was driving back to the city. As soon as my phone got a signal, it filled up with messages from friends and family. They were all worried because I had disappeared without telling anyone. I replied to everyone, letting them know I was fine, that I had gone camping, and was currently driving to work. I received a text from her. She mentioned that she feels we aren't done yet and thinks I need time to move on. She said she will wait, hoping for that to happen. I haven't replied to her yet because I think I'm finished, but I've learned to keep an open mind. For now, I'm going to relax, do what I enjoy, and see where it leads me. That's it. Thanks for the support and advice. Sorry for my English. Update 3. Hey, it's been some time. I didn't intend to keep updating the story, but a few days ago, a friend sent me a TikTok link featuring it, now in Spanish. The translation was terrible, which made me laugh. I realized I hadn't logged into Reddit in a while, so I decided to check it out yesterday. I found a bunch of messages. Some were asking what I was doing, others offered advice and support, and there were definitely a few asking for an update. I thought it would be simpler to write this here instead of replying to everyone one by one. Here it is. After almost a month and a half of thinking about it, I still didn't have clarity. I talked to Clau and her husband Pete. Clau is like a little sister to me, and Pete has been my friend since college. After some time, Clau got serious, which is unusual for her, and said, "You have to let her go. You know you'll always wonder what happened and if you're really what she wants. No matter what, you'll never be sure." She mentioned that the only reason I haven't ended things is that I fear being alone. Honestly, all of that is true. It was tough to hear, especially since it came from the woman I still see as the little girl I took to school. I couldn't help but wonder when she became more mature and wiser than me. In a lighthearted moment, I asked her when she had matured more than me. She laughed and said I stopped maturing at 15, and she caught up when she turned 10. We have a 5-year age difference, so I thought about it for a few days and decided to talk to Fran. I told her that we wanted different things right now, and it was best for us to go our separate ways, without any hard feelings. Then I said goodbye. She clearly didn't like what I said and became sad. She needs to process her emotions, and I need to process mine too. I went through a tough time emotionally and threw myself into work, but things have gradually gotten better. No, I'm not dating anyone, and I don't plan to anytime soon. I see this as a chance to act like a 15-year-old in a 43-year-old's body. I want to play video games, go camping, and be the envy of my friends whose partners don't let them have fun. That's all there is to it. Thanks for your interest in my story, your advice, and your good wishes. P.S. As usual, I apologize for my English. That's it for story number 1. Let's hear story number 2. My boyfriend seems indifferent. That stings. I found someone who values me. It's 3 a.m. and I, a 19-year-old female, can't sleep. I just finished a call with my boyfriend, and now my stomach feels a bit uneasy. We discussed politics, a subject he usually steers clear of. I enjoy getting insights from others, so I convinced him to share his thoughts. Looking back, it was a mistake. I noticed he had become a bit more conservative since we started dating 2 years ago, but tonight it really struck me just how conservative he has become. It began quite simply, discussing the presidential election and similar topics. It eventually moved on to topics like abortion and LGBT matters. He's generally pro-choice, but if I were to get pregnant with his child and terminate the pregnancy, it would create issues. Then it moved on to him backing anti-trans laws, the Don't Say Gay bill, drag bans, and so on. I think I managed to make him see things more clearly. Before we ended the call, he asked if his choice to vote for someone I didn't support would ever cause an issue. I said only if they intend to violate people's rights. He then asked what I meant by that. I mentioned that if you vote for someone who wants to eliminate gay marriage, it should lead to a discussion. He became defensive, stating that if he agrees with everything else they say and wants to vote for them, he has the right to do so. I get that, but they still want to take away someone's rights, and that's not right. He mentioned that if that ever occurred, he would end the relationship because no one should dictate my thoughts or actions. I used a personal example to help him understand. I am Native American, raised in the Lakota culture but registered as Choctaw. So I asked, what if you agreed with someone on everything, but they wanted to take away reservation status from every tribe and reclaim reservation land? I realize this is an extreme example, but I wanted him to get it. He mentioned that if he agrees with everything else, it doesn't really matter. It really hurt me. It felt like he doesn't care about me. I couldn't believe it. I just sat there holding my phone. He inquired if there was anything more I wanted to discuss. I told him that caught me off guard. We sat there in silence. He asked again if there was anything else I wanted to discuss. I mentioned again that I was caught off guard. He mentioned he needed to get up early, so we had to leave. We exchanged our I love yous, and that was all. When we began our relationship, he was interested in my native culture and supported LGBT rights. I want to share what happened. I'd be surprised if he changed a lot, or if I was just fooled. As I write this, I see that there have been other things this past year that really hurt me, and I just ignored them. I don't want to lose him. He's been kind and has shown it many times, but some issues related to my native culture have created problems this past year. It really hurts a lot. Could it be my mistake for taking it personally? Am I overreacting? Edit. I spent hours thinking about why I shared this. I just needed to know I wasn't losing it or creating issues. This made me realize that he might not be the right person for me. Despite the kindness I've received, there are certain things I won't discuss here that have negatively impacted my mental health. I'm going to get some sleep before I talk to him. To clarify, it's not only about the voting issue, at least for me. He has made hurtful comments about my culture and about LGBT individuals. I'm bi, and for some reason, he thinks it's just a quirky thing about me. He knows I've kissed and talked to girls before we started dating. Edit 2. Because many people are confused, he rang me at midnight to chat. When I said pick his brain, I meant I wanted to understand what he was thinking, not to start a fight. It wasn't a fight. No one was raising their voice or making personal attacks. We finished the call around 2. Edit 3. I didn't think this would get so much attention. It was a calm conversation, and I only got upset at the end. It seems like he judges me for my culture and my bisexuality. He mentioned that he is looking for a good Christian wife. I identify as Christian to some extent. I want to raise kids in a church that we both like and that respects my culture. I want a good mix and for kids to feel free to believe in whatever they choose when they grow up. He mentioned that he wouldn't want kids exposed to my Lakota beliefs. I have explained this to him since then. When I mention it at his house with his mom around, she refers to some things as evil and familiar spirits. Sometimes he joins in when she's finished. His answer to my question made me anxious. In recent years, Native rights, tribal status, and land in BC have faced significant threats. He refused to join my family and me at the powwow because he claimed it would have bad energy and similar reasons. I asked my dad, who is white, how my mom convinced him to go to one with her. He said he wanted to, and I began to cry and explained what had happened. He mentioned he would speak to my boyfriend, and in the end, he agreed to go. We didn't go because my sister got really sick. I won't go into detail about being bi because it feels personal, but that's where I stand. I thought differences wouldn't matter much. I'm not sure if my boyfriend will ever accept me for who I am. I've thought about it and see that the real issues are more about empathy and values than politics. Apologies for the confusion. I chose to write while feeling really tired and a bit out of it. Update 1. After work last night, I called my boyfriend. We were chatting about ordinary stuff when I mentioned that something has been bothering me. Can we talk now, or do you want to wait until tomorrow? He mentioned we could have a conversation. I told him that after last night, it seemed like he would give up my culture and rights for lower taxes without a second thought. Hearing what he and his mom have said got me thinking about our future and how I would fit into his family. He heard me out and said he wasn't sure about my culture, but he thought he could accept it. I explained to him how I want to raise my kids to know about the white buffalo calf woman and shared her story with him. He refused, so I inquired about the reason. He claimed it's not from God and isn't real. When I asked why God couldn't reach people in other parts of the world, he said it doesn't matter because it's not real. I inquired about how he found out, and he replied that it's not mentioned in the Bible. I pointed out that Peter being hung on an upside-down cross isn't in the Bible, yet many accept it as true. He mentioned that he's okay with powwows and showing kids how to dance. I explained that it doesn't make sense because everything we do as Native people is linked to our beliefs in some way. X. The rhythm we move to is the essence of our planet. I explained to him that while he is important to me, my culture is also a significant part of who I am. He said maybe this just won't work. I inquired if that was his true feeling, and he responded with a yes. I told him I still love him, but I would pack up his things from my house and return them in a few days. He was surprised and began to reconsider his steps. I asked him for his solution, and he replied that he didn't know. It was silent, so I asked again a few more times. Every time I encounter it, I feel lost. He mentioned he needed some time alone and that we would discuss things in the morning. We exchanged our I love yous and ended the call. This morning, he sent me a text saying he just wants to be with me and not think about the future. I explained that this matters to me and it's not something I can just put off until later. He mentioned he's open to sitting and listening. He wanted to discuss my culture more, but I said I was too tired from work and suggested we talk about it tomorrow. Update 2. I removed my previous post. You all deserve to know what's happening. So, my previous post was about my boyfriend not caring at all. He said some things that made me doubt his support for my culture. When I tried to discuss it further, my beliefs were criticized. I ended the relationship because he didn't support my beliefs or think I should teach my future kids about my culture and traditions beyond just songs and dancing. It was difficult at first because I convinced myself he was kind, gentle, and generous. I started facing the issues that caused me pain and that I had ignored to keep the relationship going. I came to understand that he likely never really loved me. I dropped off his things at his house that weekend, and he didn't even come outside to see me. His mom understood, and I spoke with her for a bit about what went down and how it was just too much. She repeated many of the hurtful things he said, but one statement really stuck with me. If you instill those beliefs in your children, you'll have to answer to God for it when you die. She accused me of trying to convert my ex and blamed me when I explained that her son had held me down to give me a hickey, despite my repeated pleas to stop and my attempts to push him away. I came to understand that, despite having a decent relationship, I had no desire to be involved with his family. A week after the breakup, I deleted the posts because I felt like he was always watching me. I sent him several texts trying to resolve things for some reason. After a week, I decided I was done waiting. I sent him one last message, saying that since he hadn't shown any interest in trying, I was going to start moving on. I began chatting with a guy on Instagram for a few days, and I sensed something was off because he was saying things that were strangely similar to what my ex used to say. He sent me pictures and videos of him at the gym with my ex, and then I was blocked right away. I didn't realize they were acquainted. I was really angry and began sending my ex long texts about everything I had kept inside. He claimed he didn't know, but I realized the reason his friend said such similar things was because he actually did. I walked out of my house with the intention of smashing all the picture frames that had us in them on his car. I figured that whatever he did wouldn't improve my situation, so I went to sit in the empty mall parking lot. Will Call Parker texted me, and I just spilled everything that had just happened. He replied and asked if he could come sit with me. I agreed, but he should be ready for some screaming. Fortunately, I managed to remove everything before he arrived, so his eardrums were fine. He arrived around 2 a.m., and we talked until about 7 or 8 a.m. After that, we talked every day. I shared some crazy Tinder DMs I received, and he just listened and laughed. I ended up going on a date with a guy. I finished work and took a few hours to prepare. He texted me that he wouldn't make it because his car broke down 3 hours earlier before I even got off work, and we had been texting the whole time. I got lucky because I found out later he was struggling. I was really angry because it was a Friday night and all my friends had other plans. Parker and I had been texting while I got ready, so I told him my efforts were wasted because this guy bailed. He suggested we go out instead. We went downtown, grabbed some pizza, and ended up looking at the stars in the mall parking lot once the lights were off. My ex and I began talking again for a week. He clearly showed that he missed what I did for him, not me. For instance, he suggested that we get married before he joined the military, so I could use his college benefits. He clearly didn't pay attention when I mentioned that I already receive college benefits from my tribe. He wanted to dive back in as if nothing had happened, completely overlooking how many times I expressed that I needed time to rebuild trust and respect for him. The whole time, I could hear my grandmother saying, "I didn't fight for Indian rights my whole life, just for some white boy to come in and take advantage of you." I kept chatting with Parker every day, and eventually he told me he had feelings for me. I explained that I needed time to think about everything that happened because I didn't want him to feel like a rebound. He understood that, so I went on dates with other guys for a few weeks, but they all liked me. Parker and I have been talking for a few weeks, but we're not dating. He is a kind and caring person, and I don't have to convince myself of that. He opens doors, stargazes with me, isn't jealous when I spend time with friends, and overall proves he's a good and secure man. It could take me another month or two to make things official. I want to be sure of who he really is and that I'm not being love-bombed again. It's great to be recognized for who I truly am without having to shrink myself for someone else's comfort.